Hello everyone, and thank you for being with us this morning. Today we're going to look at the year-end process in NAV. And as you might know by now, my name is Adam and I'm part of the 4PS account management team. And I'm joined here this morning by Pauline, who most of you will know from training sessions and other webinars that we've done along with the support desk. So I'll hand you over to Pauline in just a sec, just to go over what we're going to be looking at today. But before we get into it, I just want to go through a little bit of housekeeping. So as normal, please forward any questions that you have directly onto me once the webinar is over. I'll put my contact details up at the end, so if you've got any questions, feel free to give me a call or drop me an email and I'll be more than happy to help you out. As usual, this webinar is being recorded, so if you don't quite catch everything, don't worry, it's going to be up online over the next few days for you to rewatch and share. And all in all, we're looking for today's webinar to last around 30 minutes. So Pauline, if you're ready, it's over to you.
Hello and good morning everybody, and welcome to this webinar on the year-end closing process. Today we'll be going through the accounting periods, which is where we specify to NAV where our financial year starts and ends. We'll have a look at how we have to create our new fiscal year ready for after we have closed the previous one. There's a nice little report called Statement of Retained Earnings. In here we can see what the result of the closing of the income statement would mean on our GL, so we can just check that we're going to be happy with that result. And then we will actually close the financial year itself. The next stage will be go to actually running that closing income statement. And from there, as usual within NAV never just posts anything directly, so it will create a journal which you can check and make sure that you're happy with before you can then just post that journal if you are indeed happy. However, if you're not happy with the results and you need to do a few adjustment postings, whatever, then you can simply just delete that journal entries and then rerun the process. So we'll have a look at all those actions. And to do that, we'll need to go to the system itself. So I'm set up as the business manager, but of course, this will work in any of the role centres. It's just easy because I've got the links that I need to use on my home screen. So as I said, we'll start off with those accounting periods. And you can see that within our Cronus database, we have 2017, 2018, 19 and 2020 years already created, which is great. You don't have to have years created in advance, but it's no problem if you do. You'll notice that there is a closed tick box there. You can't just tick the box to say, yes, I've closed that. It is actually a function that you run. And we can see that we have closed 2017 and we're now ready to close 2018. Navision is very fussy, however, if you don't have the new year created when you come to close a year, it will give you an error message. So if you haven't already created your years in advance, you can do it quite simply by going up to your home menu and clicking on, believe it or not, the Create Year icon. NAV knows which year you created last time, so we'd created up to 2019 and started with the month of January, so we're now going to create those 12 months within January itself. You specify the number of periods and the period length. In this case it's 1 month and we're doing 12 of them. Just a point, if you should have to change your financial year, if you're moving through a year, perhaps you were January to December and you're moving from June or something like that, then you can simply either extend the number of months in any given year or make a year a short year if you wish to. But it is in here that you would need to carry that out. So once we've got that set up, we just simply say OK. And so now when I scroll down to the bottom, we can see that we've got our 2021 created here for us. So once we've created our new fiscal year, we then need to close the current year. So in our case, it's going to be 2018. Now this process, and it's again just a simple little button at the top there, close year. You get a little dialog box just highlighting to you that the function is going to close the year, which is pretty good because that's what we want it to do. But it does say once the fiscal year is closed, it cannot be reopened again, and the periods in the fiscal year cannot be changed. So basically it's just saying that you can't change that particular year. But just because it says you can't reopen a year, it doesn't mean that you can't still post to the year. Posting as normal within NAV is all controlled by the posting dates on either the general ledger setup and or the user setup. So the user can still post back into previous years if their posting date restrictions allow them to. So I just simply say, yes, I want to do that. And you'll see that 2018 has now been marked as being closed. So that's the first section of the close-end process. Back onto our role centre, there's that report that I mentioned on the agenda, and it's easy if you happen to have the business manager role centre, because you do have this little box up here that tells you about your financial statement. If not, you just as normal would use your search box top right hand side to find the report. And there it is, the statement of retained earnings. So in this case, we are running it for our period 2018. And again, with Cronus, their year runs from January to December. So that's been picked up. And I'll just go to the quick preview for you. And we can see here, I'll just increase the size there a little, so that we can see that the period start of 2018 was 488, the net income 145, etc. And so we're looking for a figure of 634 when we complete the post income statement routine. So we've created our new year, we've closed our old year. So we now need to go and have a look at the close income statement routine itself. So I'll just do a quick search. There we are, close income statement. Now, as I mentioned, Navision will create a journal for you, so you have the opportunity here to tell Navision which journal you want to use. You'll notice that the date's already been populated, and Navision will always use the date of the last year closed. So this allows you, as I said earlier, to be able to post more transactions once you've posted your close income statement. Quite often the auditor or the accountant will step in and want to post some adjustments. You can run this process as many times as you wish, and it will always only ever bring up the date of the year that you have just closed. First thing, we have to say what our general journal template is. Again, this is of your choice. So I'm just going to use a general journal, and then I have to say which batch to use. And of course, what you can do is you can set up your own batch for the year end if you want, or you can use the default one. Well, I'm going to actually just create a new one there, just call it year end. I'm not going to put a balance account because that would be silly. However, what I am going to do is I'm just going to remove that number series, because I want the entries to be posted with a number series of my choice. And of course, I'm not interested in any VAT being calculated for whatever reason. If on my GL accounts I might have the posting group. So I'm going to remove those settings and say OK to that. So in my document number, I'm going to just put year end 2018, but of course I can use whatever I wish for the document number. I then have to specify, so when I'm closing on my P&L, where do I want the opposite posting to go in my retained earnings account. In our Cronus database, we do have a nice little account called, retained earnings, which is quite fortuitous. And then my posting description. So again, I can change that if I want to, or I might just want to add 2018 onto the end there. If we're using dimensions, so if you've got dimension control on either your P&L and or your balance sheet account, then you will need to specify those dimensions. Otherwise, when you post your journal, it won't have the dimensions on it, and therefore you will get an error. So in order to select our dimensions, we just simply drill down into the assist edit, that little 3 dots there at the right hand side of that field, and then dependent on what control we have, we'll select our dimensions. In our database we could have all of them, so I'm just going to tick them. If the dimensions are there in the postings, then they will be brought across for us. So I say OK to that. And then once I'm happy with that, I can simply just say OK. Now, dependent on how many transactions you have, and especially with the dimension control, you might find that this process does take some time to complete. So what we normally recommend is that the user that sets it going actually does it perhaps overnight, because whilst it is running, the user won't be able to use NAV. So in this case, because obviously we haven't got much data on our Cronus database, my journal lines have been successfully created, so I can just say OK to that. I can come to my role center and go to my general journals, and there's my year end, and go to edit my journal. Oops, that's on this screen, which is a bit naughty. So here we have the entries, and you'll notice that for any one entry, so if I, for example, pick up this GL account, 6110, you'll see there are multiple entries for that GL account, and that is simply because of the dimensions. So what Navision has done, and again this is why it can take some time to get this information all together, it has used all the various dimension combinations and presented a line for each of those combinations. So you've got office, area 30 sales and small, and you've got office, area 30 sales and medium, for example. So this is how the journal is created, going through all your accounts with those various combinations. If I scroll down to the bottom of my journal, quite a big journal because of all those combinations, then I've got my figure down the bottom that I'm going to be balancing to. So at this stage, this is where the big task really takes place. You will be checking the details on this particular journal to make sure that you are indeed happy with them. If you are happy, then you will just simply do post or post and print. If for some reason you aren't happy with the details as per this journal and you don't want to post it in this position, then you must please, and you can do it quite easily by just highlighting all the lines by clicking on that little tab there, delete the lines in this journal if you aren't going to post them. The reason being, if you don't post, then if you run the close income statement process again, then Navision will simply add those postings again to the bottom of the journal. So in essence, you will duplicate those postings. So if we're happy, we can simply, as I say, just do post. So I will do that. And it's obviously checking those GL accounts, checking for the dimension control, are the dimensions there, in order to be able to close those entries and then post to our retained earnings. And my journal has been successfully posted. You might need to do corrections. Auditors come in and give you new postings that they want to go through to the year. So you will just post them as normal through a GL journal, as on the screen. Post them in the normal way. Obviously, you will need to make sure that your posting date restrictions allow you to post back into that, in effect, what is now the old year or the previous year. But then you can then simply just come in and run the closing income statement again, because you can, as I mentioned, you can run this as many times as you wish and simply just pop in your new document number, run the process again, and then it will pick up any of those corrections or amendments or additions that you have posted. It will pick up just those entries and populate your journal in the normal way again, and then you can check it and post. So you can run the close income statement as many times as you wish. So that's the end of today's brief little session. We've seen how we can close our fiscal year through the accounting period screen. We've seen how we, through the same screen, can create our new year. We've run the close income statement, and we know that if we don't post the resulting general journal, then we must delete it before running the process again. And we know now that we can actually run that close income statement process as many times as we wish. So thank you for joining us today. I'll just hand back to Adam to just finish up the session.
Lovely, thank you very much, Pauline. Hope you all found that interesting and useful. So I understand there's quite a lot to take in there. So as I mentioned, this webinar has been recorded, so keep your eyes open, it'll be online very soon. As mentioned, my contact details are up on the screen now, so please take a note. If you do have any questions, get in touch, either drop me an email or give me a call. I'll be more than happy to help you out. Our next NAV Know webinar is going to be on the 6th of March, and we're going to be looking at all things making tax digital. Very important one, so keep your eyes peeled for more information on that soon. So yes, once again, thank you for being with us this morning. Have a great day, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you.